one there for practice, and the other's about the Olympic signs. Summer Grove.
I'd like to call Saline City Council meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an agenda in front of us. Is there any additions? Actually, I wanted to add the MML conference on here. So is there any other additions to the agenda? We have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we need a motion to excuse the absence of Councilmember Morrow.
Move to excuse. Support.
Move Ivy, second Rhodes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the Arts and Culture Committee here, Lynn Fryman and Terry Seibo-Koenig, to talk about our public art project. Handouts?
Maybe you frost me a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot it. I don't know if you can.
It is solid. Just looks like a log tree. Thank you. It's good stuff.
Yep. Thank you all so much for having us here today. We wanted to give you a partial progress and update on the public furniture and art project. And this is an updated model. Many of you have seen previous iterations. The Arts and Culture Committee has voted to approve this model going forward. And I want to point out that in this concept, the arch remains the same. We're working with Washtenaw County artist Rick DeTroyer, who was one of the artists we had been working with before. We have decided to only go forward with Mr. DeTroyer. That's our recommendation. And he has provided us with a new direction for seating using tractors and other machinery seats. We feel like this provides a more integrated approach, and I'll bring that closer in a minute, unless you want to.
Oh, I could Vanna?
You could do that, yeah. We think it's really exciting. We think it brings forward the character of the city. This is what we hope will be the first of many various kinds of public art and seating. This is, for those of you who don't know, this is across the street from the Drowsy Parrot on North Ann Arbor Street. The budgeted amount for artist Mr. DeTroyer is within previous approved budget. The budget comes from EDC and Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs grant, and includes the arch, seating, and interpretive panel. Planned completion date for dedication is by Harvest of the Arts, September 24th this year. And Mr. DeTroyer, the arch itself will have found objects, things from the community that he would embed in it. He has already met with Rotary last week, which included a group of farmers who would have a number of pieces that they might loan to us. He will also meet with people from the Historical Society, and will set up other meetings for the public to be able to contribute to this public art. There'll be a sign that goes along with it that will explain the nature of the seating and art. And we will work with the city to develop a contract for Mr. DeTroyer.
If I could just say, the process for developing this public art furniture project has been long coming, and the Arts and Culture Committee has had several sort of stops and starts along the way. But we have, as a committee, made sure to talk with, our friends and people about the arch and the seating project downtown. And the idea about public art is well received. We're hoping actually to do more of it in the future. I am on the board of the Saline Downtown Merchants Association, and they are very much behind this project and feel it really will enhance the downtown area. It's sort of going to create a new gathering spot on North Ann Arbor Street, and they are very excited about the project as well.
How many seats?
There are up to
10?
10 seats.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions? Any council members? Oh, Mr. Ivy?
Thank you, Mayor. I was in on one of your sessions for the Arts and Culture Committee, and I recall there were a couple of designs that were discussed. Now, this one I like, but I'm wondering if there was any discussion about the back support, because there really isn't any support for someone if they're sitting there on a tractor seat for their back. Was that discussed? Was that a concern? Just curious.
We did discuss it, and, tractor seats have a little bit of, hip support. Many benches, park benches throughout the county do not have back support. So we feel like this is a stopping place, half an hour, 45 minutes, sitting, enjoying, and
Right. That was one of the things we struggled with the previous design that was sort of presented and then retracted, was the idea that it did have a high back on it, and we almost felt like it sort of cut off the view and made it a little bit too much of a monument in that area. I think the open seating and the open back is going to be very attractive.
I would agree with that, with Terry's comment about the openness of this compared to the previous design. So I like it, and I think it's probably going to be a very popular spot.
Good.
Thank you. I want to point out, if I may, I remember Mr. Rhodes' comment and some other council people's comments as they met, that the previous design was a shape that was more like this, with people sitting facing out. This design allows a little bit more of a conversational space. So just wanted to let you know that.
Mr. Rhodes?
I just wanted to compliment the members of the Arts and Culture Committee for your continuing work to refine and define better this piece of public art. And I think the use of the tractor seats is great. It brings in our agricultural heritage.
Right.
And so I'm certainly in favor of this piece.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Law?
Was there any discussion previously about having sort of a canopy or something to give shade, or is there shade that's going to be in the area where it's being proposed? I can't really picture it because I'm concerned about rain or, I guess, or some shelter. I know it's not maybe meant for that purpose, but...
At one point, there was a conversation about whether it should be a sheltering piece, and we decided that it wouldn't be. However, when you have these arches, there is a certain amount of shadows that will be cast, so you do have a little bit of sun. In these arches will be the found objects, so that'll provide a little bit, but it was never meant to be any kind of a canopy.
One of the other problems with providing a canopy in that area is the tall stick with the glob on top is actually a street light, and so the canopy might have interfered with the street light itself.
Mr. Gearbach?
Thanks for explaining how your participation took place and how this was all determined, because I know, looking at your other versions, there were the massiveness of it was kind of overpowering, and I think this looks really great, and it gives more of a, just a easy, simple approach to, I think, what would look nice uptown. So I'm glad that that's occurred, and I'm glad that you did all the participation that you did, again, with all the individuals uptown to make sure you had buy-in. So thank you.
Thanks, team.
Yeah, I know you started on this last fall, or is it more?
Yeah, it was almost a year ago.
Almost a year ago.
Yeah,
that
so
we started the
thanks for
process.
your hard work. I think it looks great, too. The next public art maybe could be some kind of game, for interaction with art. So just to think about, because
Can we toss an idea? I mean,
Sure.
in our collaboration with Rick Detroyer on this piece, Rick has made a generous offer to Saline to display 4 or 5 of his public sculptures and create a sculpture walk for Saline that we can make interactive. We're very excited about it. It comes at no cost. For the year, and it will probably, we're going to try to develop a whole program around it, but more details on that another time. That's just one of the benefits of working with a professional artist.
And one of the pieces is kinetic.
Yeah, they
Kind of
move.
fun.
Very fun.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Thanks a lot for your work on
Thank you all.
this.
Should we take this away?
Yeah, if you want. You can leave it there if you want to. People can see it then. And then we have a presentation of Frosty, our downtown director, Mr. Trapp.
Well, I don't really have a presentation, but what I wanted to mention is to take some pictures of Frosty with a variety of groups, including City Council, the mayor, and Todd and Glenn, and just everybody else. And my whole goal is that in 9 months and 3 weeks, we have Winterfest again, and I'm trying to put together a collage of a variety of pictures that Frosty has visited. This last 3 weeks, he's been in the chamber window for 10 days. He was at Brecken Grill for 10 days, and tonight he's here. Tomorrow he goes over to Fidelity Bank, and he will spend 10 days there. And he will keep moving around the city and taking pictures. And like I said, I want to put a big collage together so that we have something to use for our advertising for the 212 Winterfest. So it's on its way. I also would like to report on the Be Bloomin' campaign. We have closed it down. We have 73 baskets and boxes that have sponsors, 44 of the baskets, which is our total number of baskets, and 29 boxes. We're going to have a little painting campaign because we only have 21 boxes painted. We're going to have to paint another 10 or so. PayPal was one of the vehicles used to do sponsorship, and we had 26 baskets that were paid for by PayPal. We had a fee of $63.69, which is 3.3% of our total net for PayPal, but it was a convenience factor, and many people did use it, and I was very happy that they did. We had 51 baskets and boxes sponsored by individuals, and 22 baskets and boxes sponsored by groups for our 73. The baskets, the liners for the baskets right now are at Saline Flowerland. Some were planted on Friday, the rest of them were planted today. And by Memorial Day, we hope to have them out on the street and hopefully looking as good as they can possibly look. So just wanted to let everybody know that I thought the Be Bloomin' campaign was a great success, and I'm very happy that we were able to do it. So,
Any questions?
thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have citizen comments on agenda items. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question on items that appear on this agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Is there anybody that would like to speak to anything on the agenda?
Good evening. Hi. I am Larry Osterling with the Saline Area Chamber of Commerce, and I just have a few comments. I noticed most of our agenda this evening has to do with Jack Products, and a few comments from the Chamber. Jack Products is one of those companies I think all of us recognize as being one of our top-notch companies in the area. And I know there's details what the request is tonight, but on behalf of the Chamber, I think Jack Products to us represents the best, almost the best of the best, one of our top companies, not only what they do in the state-of-the-art, but also in their community footprint and the things they've been involved in, whether it's been distributing hams at Christmas time or being involved. I think everybody recognizes what a good community citizen Jack Products is, and that's really all I wanted to say, except this is a company that's brought us jobs, brought us technology, and is going to keep us safe in the future. So our appreciation to Jack Products. Thank you.
Thank you. there any other comments? We'll move on to the consent agenda. The following consent agenda will normally be adopted without discussion. However, at the request of any citizen or council member, any item may be removed from the consent agenda for council discussion.
Mayor, I'd like to remove C 1153.
Okay, we'll go under new business after C 1158, or 1158. Do we have a motion to approve and adopt the items on the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Move Rhodes, second Ivy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under public hearings, item 1156 is application for transfer of industrial facilities exemption certificate number 2001-511 from Huron Valley Sales Incorporated to Jack Products. We would need a motion to acknowledge receipt of the application from Jack Products and the March 29, 2011 memo from Finance Director Burgoyne.
So moved.
Second.
Move Gearboss, second Tahar. Mr. Burgoyne?
Well, Jack Products is utilizing the entire facility that this IFT relates to, and it makes sense for it to be transferred into their name. They are responsible now for the taxes, and Huron Valley Sales has moved out.
Are there any questions for Mr. Burgoyne? If not, all in favor to acknowledge receipt, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we need a motion to open the public hearing affording the public applicant and all taxing units an opportunity to be heard.
Moved.
Second.
Move Gearboss, second Tahar. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Is there anybody like to speak? Would you like to speak? Come tell us what you're doing.
Okay. My name is Dave Birchmeyer. I'm the Vice President of Finance for Jack Products, and just like to thank this opportunity to meet with you and the opportunity for to extend our commitment and within the community. We've been here a little over 10 years and certainly intend to be here well past the foreseeable future and certainly past the term of this agreement. I myself lived here for close to 20 years myself, so I appreciate it.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how your business is doing, maybe?
The business is doing well. We had 2009 was a rough year. 2010 was significantly better. As Lee mentioned, we took over 100% of the facility at 151, which is adjacent to our current buildings. We have 70,000 square foot there, and I think close to 170,000 square foot fully utilized on 3 shifts, pretty much 7 days within our current facility at 225. Revenues are great this year. The auto industry has really picked up, and we are very grateful for it.
Are there any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other comments to this public hearing?
Move to close.
Second.
Gearboss, second Ivy, to close the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now closed. This would be a motion to approve and adopt or not adopt the resolution approving application of Jack Products for a transfer of industrial facilities exemption certificate number 2001-511 from Huron Valley Sales Incorporated to Jack Products for an existing facility in the amount of $2,648,000, and that said certificate, when transferred, will remain in effect until its ending date of December 30th, 2012, subject to Jack Products entering into an agreement, tax abatement agreement with the City of Saline as submitted, to authorize or not authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the tax abatement agreement with Jack Products. Do you have a motion?
Move to approve and adopt and authorize.
Second.
A motion to approve and adopt and authorize. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 1157, application from Jack Products for a new industrial facilities exemption certificate in the amount of $2,287,641 for personal property. So we need a motion to acknowledge receiving the application from Jack Products and the March 29, 2011 memo from Finance Director Burgoyne.
Move to acknowledge receipt.
we have a second?
Second.
Discussion, Mr. Burgoyne?
Well, this is a significant investment by Jack Products at their main facility. The Special Projects Commission reviewed this and had some questions on the listing of investments. They referred it to the city assessor. City assessor reviewed it, and in fact, there were a couple of revisions that had to be made. After those revisions, I went back and looked at the IFT guidelines and to see what the effect was, and there was minimal effect. The recommendation remained at a 10-year recommended IFT. So that's before you tonight.
Any questions for Mr. Burgoyne? Mr. Rhodes?
I had a question relative to the number of jobs. Looking at the revised IFT evaluation guideline worksheet that was submitted, and I know that our standard process is to say that every $50,000 worth of investment generates a job, but I wonder if we know how many jobs really are intended to be created as a result of this investment as opposed to this mathematical calculation.
Yes, the 87 jobs that are listed there are also tied to state credits, the state mega credits. So they're required not just by us, but by the state to create the jobs. So I do anticipate that they will create the jobs because they're getting a lot higher incentive from the state than from us.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Burgoyne? Now we have a motion to acknowledge receipt. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we need a motion to open the public hearing affording the public applicant and all taxing units an opportunity to be heard.
Moved.
Gearba, do we have a second?
Second.
Second Rhodes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak to this motion in this hearing?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Move Ivy, second Gearba, to close public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. This will be a motion to approve and adopt or not adopt the resolution approving application of Jack Products for industrial facilities exemption certificate for a new facility in the amount of $2,287,641 for personal property for a period of 10 years, subject to Jack Products entering into an agreement, tax abatement agreement with the City of Saline as submitted, to authorize or not authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the tax abatement agreement with Jack Products. You have a motion?
Move to approve and adopt and authorize.
Second.
Move Law, second Terhar, to approve and adopt and authorize. Discussion. I'd just like to thank Jack Products for continuing to invest in our community. We look forward to continued successful partnership with you. We did meet Mike Edwards, came in and met with myself and Todd and Lee, I think, and I would reiterate what our chamber director said, that we have had a very good partnership in the past, and we look forward to mutually assisting each other in a successful future together. So thank you for coming tonight. So we have a motion to approve and adopt and authorize. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, item 1158, the public art project. This is a motion to approve or not approve the public art project as presented by the Arts and Culture Committee, and to authorize or not authorize the project to proceed with artist Rick DeTroyer for the seating, sign holder, and arch with a porcelain text panel work by Fireform Graphics, with funding for the project from TIFA, grants, donations, and in-kind services, to authorize or not authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the contracts for this work if necessary after review and approval by the city attorney.
Move to approve, authorize, and authorize.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll support.
Discussion. Ms. Tahar.
I hope that we will approve this public art project this evening. It would join a number of other artworks, public artworks in the city. The ones at the Depot and the Public Library come to mind. It will also be an enhancement to downtown, and I believe it will surprise and delight downtown residents and visitors in its celebration of some aspects of Saline heritage. Thank you.
Is there further discussion on this motion? I just summarized what we said at the beginning, that I appreciate Arts and Culture Committee's work to get to this point, and we're looking forward to the installation of this project and a celebration of public art downtown. If there's no further discussion on this motion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have item 1153. This is a motion to approve and adopt Mayor Driscoll's proclamation of April 15, 2011 as a day of silence in Saline. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Mayor.
Mr. Gearbox.
I'd like to thank the mayor for supporting this resolution. It's one that, well, it's near and dear to me, but it's also clear that understanding the issue out to our school that are affecting some students in terms of harassment and bullying related to sexual orientation and such. But the Day of Silence really is something that students are taking forward to try and change and bring about change, to make sure that bullying and discrimination and those type of situations are something of the past. I think this year we've seen a lot in the news of teenage suicides and other incidences that have occurred that have happened to gay and lesbian teens and young adults. And so I think this is a great way for our community to recognize what our students are trying to do for our community, and also for our community to let other individuals know that we're out there, we're paying attention, and we care about them.
Great. Further discussion on this motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any commissioner committee reports? Mr. Gearbox.
Historic District Commission met. We reviewed 99 West Henry. They had going through restoration since there was a fire in it, and there was concerns about when the house was actually built and did it really apply to an older type of setting. After a few reviews of, an aerial view from 1937 and some inspections by the members of the committee, we determined that the house was built in about 1941, 1940. The improvements are basically the individuals are going to remove the siding and put new siding on it, and hopefully it'll still retain its character from the 1940 period, especially with the eyebrow windows and everything. So we're looking forward to that, and I'm really thankful for them trying to restore the building to a really appropriate setting for that area.
Any other committee reports? Okay, now we'll go on to reports and other announcements. Probably could put the conference in there. I just wanted to find out who was going to be going to Lansing on Wednesday for the Michigan Municipal League Legislative Conference. Linda, Pat, are you going?
No.
Anybody else? David, because we were talking about possibly carpooling, so that starts first thing. I don't know if people are going on Tuesday too, but so we could talk after the meeting about, because this is going to be a really important conference. We're going to be hearing a lot about a lot of the legislation that's brewing that could significantly impact local government, and I think it's really important how as many people as possible could come and learn more. There's going to be a breakout, I think, on the emergency financial manager legislation and a bunch of other really good breakouts. So maybe touch base after the meeting. Are there any other reports and other announcements? Quick meeting. Under the Open Meetings, I'm going to move on to public comment if nobody has any more reports. Under the Open Meetings Act, any citizen may come forward at this time, make comment or question to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Anyone who would like to speak is requested but not required to state his or her name and address for the record. Is there anybody that has any comments? If not, is there any other business to come before the Saline City Council? We do have 2 meetings, actually. We just scheduled another meeting tonight at our work session. We have a budget work session on April 18th at 6 p.m., a regular meeting on April 18th at 7:30 p.m., and a budget work session on April 25th. I think at 6 PM. We'll start there if everybody could get it on their calendar. And we already excused absences. Do we have a motion to adjourn at 8:03?
So move.
Move Rhodes, do we have a second?
Second.
Second Gearbout, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.